So this will be my first vlog back after some much needed downtime following the death of my friend Pierre and the Ukrainian producer who was with him, Sasha. Um, I'll touch on a couple of quick things and then I'm going to lead into a video, a vlog that I shot before Pierre's death. Firstly, I want to say to all of those of you who sent me notes of condolence, I'm deeply touched. Thank you. It's nice to know that online not everybody are trolls or the ugliness, and there was some of that, unfortunately, but I prefer to focus on the positive. So to those of you out there who sent me best wishes and sympathies and notes of condolence, just know it was sincerely very much appreciated. Secondly, and I'll touch on this in greater length perhaps in another vlog, but I just want to say, in light of Pierre's death, many of you have criticisms of mass media and corporate media, and I share those criticisms. Trust me, I worked in corporate media for over a quarter of a century. I know the criticisms and I held them myself. When news becomes just another show, when information is a commodity to be sold as if it were a Chrysler or a refrigerator or chewing gum, it diminishes the worth, and it causes people to be suspect of the intention of news. I get that criticism. I share that criticism, frankly. But those of us who are on the ground here, trying to gather information, by and large, the vast majority of us are actually sincerely, genuinely here trying to get information out to you so you don't have to come here yourself. All right? So people like Pierre and others put their lives at risk and sometimes pay the ultimate price to try and get you news. So please, don't tell me that the people here are propagandists on the ground or are opportunists or trying to manipulate you. There are, of course, people who are here trying to make a name for themselves, and wars make careers. Or maybe there are people just within the industry who just want to be on TV, and that's their motivation. That exists, sure, that exists, but it is the minority. The majority of people are genuinely trying to deliver the news as clearly and as honestly as they possibly can, given the constraints of the medium itself. So that's the last thing I'm going to say about Pierre's passing and his death. I will mourn my friend in private from now on in, but keep in mind, please, that the people who are out here working hard and diligently, most of them, the vast majority, are doing a job that is, in my mind, a very important job to do, and that is to try and deliver the news as honestly and as fairly as possible. So, now I am standing in Lviv, and I'm going to go into the report that I shot earlier. You're going to notice probably a difference in weather. You're going to notice a difference in my clothes. But that was because this material was shot before I had to take that downtime. Now, outside of this 14th century church, you will see that they are preparing for a possible attack in Lviv, and they're trying to keep this 14th century church safe. I mean, this entire town is basically a UNESCO heritage site. So that's going on still, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here because I wanted to show you that. That is a monument to the visit of Pope John Paul II back in 2001. It was actually one of my first visits to Ukraine, and it was where my love affair with this country began. Now, when he came first to Kiev, and he was met on the main street in the capital, Khrushchevsk, this main street, by rows and rows of Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox, Russian Orthodox at the time, now Ukrainian Orthodox, priests lining the road, protesting his visit as basically a visit by the Antichrist. And then conversely, he came here to the western part of Ukraine and was met by, in a field outside of Lviv, by over 1 million of the faithful who had come to hear his sermon. So the difference between that Eastern Orthodox section of Ukraine and then the Catholic west of the country couldn't have been more pronounced. There are divisions within this country. There are the Galicians here, close to the Polish border. They're down south. There are the Don Cossacks, which are their own kind of ethnic identity and their own priorities. In Odessa, there's a large population of Russian speakers, and they kind of are independent, due in no small part because they are a port town, and there's a lot of criminality, and so they always kind of bulk at the control by the central government. And then, of course, out east, sure, yes, there are breakaway republics in Luhansk and Donetsk, and there's a Russified industrial east, and then the central government in Kiev, which has got its own interests. So there's a number of different regions around this country, but with the possible exception of those breakaway republics, this country, almost in the entire part of this country, the entire rest of this country, is time in well, since I've been coming here. I've never seen it like this before. This country is completely unified in pushing back against Putin's Russia. So he has done something that Russian leaders have feared for centuries. He has unified this country, this disparate country with different ethnicities and different interests and different cultural heritages, built out of being a pawn from different larger neighbors and empires who may have crossed through this land and sowed their own seeds of these different disparate groups. But for maybe the first time in their history, they are actually unified as one single nation. And now, after the war, we'll have to see what happens. Will they return to the old squabbles of the past, or will they remain unified? But right now, there is a sense in this country that we either all stand together or we will all fall separately. And, you know, as an American, that speaks to me, again, at a very fundamental level. So I'm going to show the rest of this report about just how unified this country is. It will be different because it was shot over a week ago, but I thought it important to pick up where I left off. I will try to do more vlogs. I will be doing more podcasting, more streaming, and I hope you will continue to follow me. Again, one last time, I will say to those of you who sent me notes of sympathy after the loss of my dear friend, from the depth of my heart, I say thank you and bless you, and it meant a lot, and I appreciate it. I will now mourn my friend in private. This is the last time I will be talking about it at any length, but know that it was appreciated. So I'll now pass to the rest of this report. So let me explain what you're about to see here. These are just common people, Ukrainians from around the town, from around the city of Lviv. And they've come here on their Friday to tear apart cloth and make camouflage coverings for entrenchment positions, tanks, armed fighting vehicles. There are children here doing this. There are old women here doing this. You know, the idea that Zakharova is putting forward, that the Russians are putting forward, that they would turn on one another in order to create some sort of international outcry is, well, it's just not realistic. So look at this, and you tell me if these are the kind of people that would murder their own as a false flag to try and get world opinion, which is already on their side, or to, rile up the Ukrainians. They don't have to attack a maternity ward to do this. They're already doing this.
черговий дискомфорт, в голові дискомфорт.
Гей ви, музиченьки, заграйте ви чардаш, на ясикого лям останній раз. Гей ви, музиченьки, заграйте ми чардаш, на ясикого лям останній раз. Стали.
My wife is upstairs weaving the
So you
net
cut
and-
them down here,
Yes,
and then you take them upstairs,
yes,
and they attach them to the netting.
that's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Іди у мами, запитай, чи можна тобі мандарин.
Я їм
Да, запитай, чи можна мандарин. Іди, на здоров'я.
I mean, it's absolutely amazing. These people are doing it from soup to nuts, from start to finish. That there, that's netting. They're creating netting in this building, in this what used to be a library. Starting with netting, starting with cutting the strips to attach to the netting to make those camouflage tarps to cover positions. You want to tell me these people aren't unified? That they aren't one single people? Then you're denying what you see in front of your own eyes. So those of you who've been watching my vlogs all this week know the kind of way I like to do a lockout to kind of finish my daily vlogs. And I'm going to do it a little differently this time. And I haven't practiced this yet. I haven't prompted these people. But as far as the idea that they would harm themselves, that they would create some sort of false flag and kill their own people to try and motivate international support or to do whatever, I suggest the Kremlin listens to this. Slava Ukraini! But you know, the sad thing about it is, no matter how unified these people are, there is obviously the sense that they are David versus Goliath, and they're preparing for it. This church here, this was built in the 13th century. It has survived all that time. And yet now, they're having to cover the stained glass with sheet metal, just in case the Russians decide to bomb this ancient historical city. You can see the statuary again covered protectively just in case. They may be unified, and they are, but they're under no illusions that they are facing a massive enemy. They've done an extraordinary job for over 2 weeks, but they're not delusional. They're not holding any kind of fantasy idea that they're absolutely going to win. Yes, there's optimism. Yes, there's courage. And yes, there is a sense that they will fight as long as they have to get where they need to be and to win. But they know what they're facing. And despite that, they carry on, working as hard as they can, preparing as hard as they can to defend themselves. You know, it's been said oftentimes in combat that it's not fear that's the problem. It's not being able to conquer your fear. And if that's the metric, these people are facing an enormous threat with a great amount of courage and bravery. And you can say anything you want about them and their motivations and what they want to do, but you have to hand it to them. They're not going anywhere. And they're ready to stand their ground. And I find that very admirable.